2, 1, start.
Hey everybody, this is Vernon Lesser with Bull Market Capital, and today I'm here with Prasanto Kumar, and we're going to discuss our exclusive debt service coverage ratio calculator. This calculator is a great tool for determining if you're initially eligible for funding, whether it's SBA funding, conventional commercial real estate funding, equipment funding, or really any kind of business funding. What we're going to show you are the inputs that banks normally look at. And what these inputs include are what are called add backs. So normally you would have your net income as shown per your, let's say, your tax returns. And then we have money that could be added back into your income, which will allow a bank to see what else they could utilize to show that you're able to not only make money for your business, but also pay their debt service back. So let's get started with this. And I'm going to have Prasanto give me some inputs. I'll put them in the calculator, and we'll show you how this calculator works. So Prasanto, you could give me last year's net income per federal business tax returns.
All right, so let's go with $100,000.
$100,000, okay. And everybody, don't use commas or decimal points in this on this calculator. Just the numbers. All right. So the next line would be an add back line, which is annual depreciation. And depreciation is shown in your tax returns, and that's for tangible assets like commercial real estate or equipment, and vehicles as well. So Prasanto, give me a number for annual depreciation for 2024.
All right, $12,000.
$12,000. Okay. Great. Now the next line is amortization, and amortization is a depreciation of intangible assets like intellectual property, such as a patent. So, and that's once again shown in your tax returns. So Prasanto, give me a number for amortization.
All right, $7,500.
$7,500. Okay. All right, great. Next line is annual interest payments. So your interest payments, would be for once again vehicles or real estate, other loans you may have out there, and so this is also considered add back when looking at your debt service coverage ratio. So what kind of interest payments did you have last year on your tax returns?
Right. So Vern, before we go, I just had a question. Like, if you have a business credit card and I got a loan on that, so is that be considered as an annual interest payments?
We can look at the interest payments on that. There's going to be some math involved in determining. Your CPA or accountant will figure this out usually. But your principal payments won't count, but your interest payments on the credit cards will count.
Perfect. So that will be like $25,000.
$25,000. Okay. All right, great. And the next add back line is owner's distribution, which are payments made to ownership above and beyond salary. So for last year, in your hypothetical company, Prasanto, what would the owner distribution on the tax returns?
$50,000.
50,000, 50?
Yeah, 50. Yeah, that's right.
All right, great. Okay, and now your new loan that you're planning on taking out, what would the annual debt service be?
Right, around $70,000.
$70,000. Okay.
70. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, folks, once again, we are taking last year's net income, which is $100,000, and then identifying add backs as shown on your tax returns. Some of these are shown on page 1, but others you got to dig. Depreciation, amortization, they're usually shown in the same schedule on your tax returns, a few pages in. So we've got $12,000 for depreciation, $7,500 for amortization, $25,000 for annual interest payments, and $50,000 for owner distribution. So once again, we add all those numbers together. So we're looking at $112,000, $119,500, another 17 or $75,000. So that's 194,500, I believe. Okay, great. And then our projected annual debt service is $70,000. So we already know with our net income plus our add backs, we're over 1 times debt service coverage ratio. And we're going to be greatly over 1 times debt service coverage ratio. Normally, for the DSCR, banks need at least 1.25 times coverage. And the reason for that, if you have one times coverage, that means basically everything that comes in equals everything going out. So you're not making any money, you're not losing money. Anything above 1.0 means you're making money, and anything over 1.25, banks usually feel comfortable with that ratio and that number. So let's see what we came up with. So our DSCR is 2.78. That means we're earning 2.78 times more than the projected debt service of $70,000. So that is a great number for a bank. And if you have a number like that, 99% of the time, as long as everything else is in place, as long as the bank is okay with your industry or your asset class, then you'll get a loan, you'll get financing.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Vernon, and I think this is a great business I'm doing. Now, I got a question here because the numbers that we taken is from an existing business. What about somebody is trying to start a new business, a startup? In that situation, what numbers to be considered are like how are we going to do it?
Okay, Prasanto, that's a great question. So almost every single time out there for a startup business, if you don't fund it with friends and family money, you're going to get an SBA 7A loan, possibly an SBA 504 if there's real estate or heavy equipment involved as well. So the SBA will look at projected numbers. So as long as your projections, usually after you're open for, towards the end of year 1, if you're showing positive income, then we can make it work with the projected debt service coverage ratio. Definitely by year 2, you want to show that you're in the black and you're making money and you can pay off the bank debt. So in a lot of cases, businesses start and they're losing money the first 6-9 months. Then towards the end of year 1, they turn the corner and their monthly projected debt service coverage ratio is in the positive, and then it improves from there on out. Year 2 gets a little better. Year 3, they're usually fully stabilized and making money, and they can handle the debt service.
That's great, and I think this is a great tool. Before you apply for a loan, you can always know where you stand or where your business is standing. So that's absolutely a great tool. I think
it is. It's a great tool. You can evaluate for buying a business, and the debt service coverage ratio is too low. It may not be a good business to buy. And of course, a bank will say, well, you've got, as an example, a 1.1 debt service coverage ratio, and most of the time they're going to say, well, that's just too low for us. Sometimes there is some consideration where they will say, okay, we can work with that. You just need to improve it. Show us how you're going to improve your numbers, your income numbers going forward. And some asset classes, like I mentioned, are tough. So if you're looking at a hotel compared to, let's say, a manufacturing company, manufacturers, you can usually decrease some costs, increase production, increase your customer base, and your numbers will improve. Hotels the hotel industry is something that's very it's based on the overall general economy, and sometimes during, let's say, a tough times recession, hotel numbers go way down, and it's an asset class that banks won't lend on, even if you have a 1.5 debt service coverage ratio. It just really depends on the situation. And in commercial real estate, if you're in a tertiary or rural type area that's not in a major city, if you have a 1.4, they may say no. they may look for 1.6 or 7 or better. Let's say it's a multifamily property, because a lot of lenders and banks get scared of the smaller markets. But however, if you're in Washington D.C. or New York or Chicago, and you're at a 1.05, they may say that's fine. We can live with that, because we know you'll always be busy, and your property taxes may be so high in those cities, that's why it's keeping your income down. But we know you're always going to be rented, and you can make those payments.
Right. That's great information. I think, we definitely want everybody to use this tool, and and they can get the results right away. So that's great, sir.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any questions, please email us at info@bullmarketcapital.com or call us at 336-579-0110, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.